Well, hello, my darling abundance magnets. I'm here on the Upper East Side of Manhattan where we're having a heat wave. We're having a heat wave. And special points to anyone who knows where that line comes from. It is so hot here, I cannot even tell you. But part of my money mindset routine is to come and sit in this lovely park outside of a gorgeous luxury building called the Easton, and I make it a habit of mine to come sit in the vicinity of where I would like to one day live. And as I do that, I've got a lot of energy tied up in it because I'm also moving to a new apartment pretty soon, which is a lot larger than any apartment I've ever lived in before. And so I'm trying to manifest some positive vibes around it, which I do have, but it's always a little bit stressful moving, so trying to get my vibe into a state of calm and peace and balance and excitement and anticipation around my move. So today I really wanted to share with you a common question, I would say, and this really popped up in the feed of my private Facebook group for the Abundant Healer 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online. And I just wanted to share my response to it with you all here in the group and to anybody that may be watching this on YouTube. And the question goes like this. I want to feel like I have enough that I can pay my bills, not live paycheck to paycheck, have enough to put into savings, have enough for quarterly taxes, and still have some to give back to other sources. So first thing, I think it's really important to address that there are actually 4 different monetary vibrations going on here. And so the first one is that of being debt-free. So you want to get your vibe right around debt. And it's important to realize that you are worth every penny that was spent, no regretting your debt, okay? So often when it comes to our debts, we kind of beat ourselves up and we tend to think, oh, I don't know if this was really worth it, or I regret spending that much money, or I'll be paying my student loans forever, or I'm so horrible with the money to have racked up this much debt. This hole is so deep, I'm never going to be able to dig myself out of it, etc., etc. And so this only really keeps you kind of spinning around in a place of low self-worth and regret, and ignoring the debt also is just not going to help you either. So the only thing that is going to prevent you from spinning your wheels in denial and in fear is being brave enough to take a look at those numbers and to start cultivating a plan that will actually help you start to feel more confident in your ability to pay it off. So if you can keep your focus on the solutions and a sense of well-being around knowing that you are moving towards a debt-free existence, that's really where you want to keep your vibe at. Okay. And now the second monetary vibe that's going on here in this question is that of being able to save. So allowing yourself to have money in the bank can actually be a lot harder than you think. So often we have a lot of shame kind of tied up in the idea of surplus. So living paycheck to paycheck is really a form of surviving, but it's also only taking what we need. So if we were to take more than what we need, somehow that might be perceived as selfishly hoarding money and taking it away from someone who is in more dire straits than you. And so having a good vibe around saving money really requires relinquishing any underlying feelings around immorality or badness around having a surplus of money. It also requires that you assume your own space in essence. If you've been taught to never take up more than you need or never take up more space than you need, okay, it translates into money. And this is where you have to battle that conditioning and kind of scarcity attitude and say to yourself, no, I'm going after and I'm going to acquire as much as I want because I live in an abundant universe, and the more satisfied I am, the better I can serve others, inspiring them to pursue and fulfill their desires as well, right? So we have to get past that scarcity attitude and that kind of conditioning, okay? Now the third thing is that of being able to afford your expenses. So knowing that you are more than enough and that your funds are going to replenish themselves really requires a sense of faith and trust in the universe and your ability to tap into your own internal resources, knowing that even if your circumstances change beyond your control, you will be able to follow those inspired action steps to adapt in the ways that most benefit your situation. And so the best way to feel confident about being able to afford your expenses is really to make wise investments and to listen to your intuition when you feel that little voice in the back of your head encouraging you in a particular direction, even if it may feel illogical in that moment. And it also kind of goes back to a willingness, as I said before, to look at the numbers and not to like become obsessed with them, but also not to be afraid of them. Because the more clarity you have around your numbers, the better you can interpret the guidance you receive around them. By numbers, I mean how much money you're investing in advertising, how much return you're getting on your investment, whether you invest in employees and things like that. Now, the fourth thing is the vibe around being able to invest or contribute. And so allowing your wealth to express itself in forms other than money. And so that's kind of stepping out of fear and allowing your money to move and take on new forms. So it may be an expression of legacy and contribution, such as offering charitable donations or funding human service projects. It could also take on the form of long-term investments like buying real estate or taking risks in the stock market, for example. Just basically you have to understand that money is a manifestation of value. It's just energy in paper form. And if you can manifest your money in a variety of forms, you'll also have more consistent income. So this is similar to what they mean when they say like most millionaires have at least 7 revenue streams. Okay, it doesn't all look the same. You're not doing only one thing all the time. Now, to hone in on your vibration in each of these areas, it's really important to realize that money is just a physical manifestation of energy and value. It's a renewable resource. It ebbs and flows. It likes to move. This is another comparison I typically like to make, is that money is like manure. And if you let it pile up in one place, it starts to stink. But you spread that shit around, and suddenly things start to grow. And so when we're cheap about spending money or feel weird about receiving it, we put ourselves in this kind of scarcity attitude instead of a vibration of abundance. And so money likes to have meaning. It really likes to have a place to go. And that speaks to really being aware of your whys. Why do you want this money? And it can't just be to pay off debt. That's one vibration. Okay, you can't pigeonhole yourself there. And if we think beyond that, typically it's really to experience a form of freedom. Okay, we think that money will buy our ticket to freedom, or it will buy the thing that will carry us to freedom. And that could be a new car, a new job, a new house, a new dress, a new yacht, right? A new lover even, travel around the world, okay? So we think that we need these things first before we can express that feeling of freedom. But if you wish to speed up the physical manifestation process, the things you want, the key is really to focus on the feeling of freedom in the present moment. And like I said, I want to live in a luxury building in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I'm definitely moving into a pricey place, which is a step up for me. But right now, I'm sitting in, the garden space of this place I want to live because I want to sit in that vibration, and I do it every single day. It's a practice, okay? And I'm convinced that because I've been doing this practice now, within a year of starting my online, business and starting to bring in up to 10K per month, I'm upgrading my living situation Saturday. I'm moving into a completely different living situation. I'm not in the luxury building, but just sitting around that luxury building and being in its vicinity, I am taking huge steps towards that. Okay, and I couldn't have called that into my existence if I haven't been sitting in that vibration day after day. Okay, so if you're sitting in a place where you're kind of wallowing in a feeling of not having enough money, okay, that's only going to introduce more resistance, and that's actually going to slow down your manifestation process. So what do you do when you really just can't help but focus on the lack of something? Well, to my mind, it's really best to kind of find a way to shift your feeling state enough so that you're able to find a relief from that kind of not having feeling, and of course that fuels limiting beliefs about stuff. And that includes replacing, unhealthy beliefs with more positive ones, but they really have to ring true for you. Okay, so they have to put you in an abundant vibration in a way that doesn't cause like sadness or resistance or disappointment or contrast around whatever your manifesting intention may be. So one way to create, a contrast-free desire statement is to use certain qualifying words. And you'll notice that I use a lot of them. And I'm going to give you an example right now. Okay, so here's one statement. I love knowing it is possible for me to be successful online doing what makes me feel purposeful. And it is possible because here I am doing it, right? I love how it feels when I make a bank deposit. Of course you do. I'm excited by the thought of traveling to new and distant places. Who doesn't get excited about the idea of travel? I love the idea of having a full and diversified practice. Who wouldn't love that idea? I love imagining myself making wise decisions with my investments. Of course you do. right? So all of these phrases really allow you to speak to and attend to your desires in a positive and non-contradictory way. There's nothing that I've said that is untrue or that could be contradicted by your current reality, right? The conditions in your environment. So using words like ideal is really important because it allows you to talk about the now and assign real feelings to it. Saying, I love how it feels when, really stays away from a static state of being, and it allows your feelings to kind of cross that treacherous divide of not having, because you are talking about moments when you have had, and that is true in your experience. Or you could also talk about the fantasy of having, and of course, the feelings around the fantasy are true in your experience. So now, bringing this video to a close, I would have you give it a try. So in the comments below, I would say list between 1 and 5 good feeling statements that you can make today about money that are true for you. But don't offer any contradictory vibration, okay? Try to use these sort of qualifying words like I love to think of, or my ideal whatever, or I love to imagine. Like, use qualifying words that allow you to make a true statement so that you don't get any resistance in your vibration, okay? And if you'd like to learn more about my program, The Abundant Healer, 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online, I'll put a link to that in the caption of this video. And what that is a 90-day intensive program and a one-stop shop that teaches therapists, coaches, and healers to create, launch, and scale their practices online, even if they have never made $1 online, created a single lesson, or have no marketing experience. And all of this is without having to waste a ton of time, money, and effort on, experts and gurus, or piecemealing a bunch of different programs together. So it really is the exact steps that I use to start bringing in up to $10,000 per month in online revenue as a therapist, coach, and or healer. And it also includes the mindset practices, a bit of which I've touched upon today. So I invite you to check that out in the link in the caption of this video, and let us know in the comments below at least one true statement that you can make about money that can put you into a high vibe place.